Monster Level 2 upgrade. Hey guys, Tristan here from RC Bros 2000, and well, I got something very special for Monster here. Well, thanks to my friend Coyote0976, he has donated me the stainless steel screw set for the Stampede and Rustler by Dynamite. Man, if you guys have seen this RC, you guys would know that all the screws have been rusted on here from one run in the snow. So thanks to Coyote, he got this to me, and we shall get this installed. Now, before I continue, you guys would notice the video is a lot more stable than it was before. That's because I have finally gotten the tripod and have it set up so that I can put my phone on it. It's not a good thing I have it duct taped to the tripod, but I mean, this is the same setup I used in the run video. So, I'm testing this out, so let me know what you guys think. Alright. Alright, before I do anything, I'm first going to remove all 4 tires, and they are held on with one 4mm nut right there. With all 4 tires removed, we can now move on to unscrewing it. First off, I am going to remove the front suspension, and it is held on with 5 screws. 2 up front, 1 in the middle, right here, and 2 in back. Now before I take this off, this is going to remove the bottom deck. But before I can do that, I'm going to have to remove the servo wire that goes from the receiver box through this hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 2 screws and these 2 screws. Alright, with all those screws removed and the servo wire removed from the receiver, all we have to do is take off the front suspension. And just make sure this wire does not get caught on the chassis. Alright, with that out of the way, we can set the rest of the car to the side, and we can work on the front suspension. Now, there's a lot of screws, so I'm going to take this little bit by little bit. First off, I'm going to start off with the bumper and bottom deck. And all of them are held on with the bumper for 4 screws, and these for 3 screws. I'm going to be removing them just to simplify this a little bit further. With the 7 screws removed, it comes completely apart. I set the front bumper off to the side because I already have 3 screws that are stainless steel holding it in. Now to continue, I'm going to first start off with the bottom deck. I'll be replacing the 4 screws that hold the servo into the position, the 1 screw that holds down the servo saver, the 2 that hold the link down for the bell cranks, and as well as the turnbuckles themselves, and I'll be replacing the nuts along with them at every position. Alright, with all the screws on the lower deck put on, we can now move on to the suspension itself. I'll have to remove the screws that hold the shock tower in place, hold the ones that hold the posts in place, the bottom of the shocks, as well as the screws that hold the camber links and the toe links in place. Alright, with the lower deck and the front suspension, all the screws replaced with stainless. Now it's time to put it back together, and that's done easily by putting the 3 screws that hold this to the bulkhead, as well as the 4 screws that hold the bumper in place. Alright, with the front assembly put back together fully, I can now set this aside. And now let's move on to the rest of the RC. I'm going to remove the rear suspension by removing these 2 screws down here and the 6 right here. Alright, with those 8 screws removed, all you have to do is pull the rear suspension off the chassis. Now I'm going to put this to the side so I can get to the chassis screws. And I'm going to be replacing about 10 of them. 2 for both Nerf bars, the receiver box, the ESC, and the battery tie brace. Alright guys, with all the screws now in place for the chassis, I can set this off to the side. And now we can finally get at the last section of the RC, the biggest section, the rear suspension and transmission and bumper. Now I was smart enough to use the remaining screws that we had from when we did Drogan to put a bunch of the stainless steel already on the bumper and the spare tire rack. So this I can just take off and get back to work. And I'll easily do that by removing 6 screws. 4 for the bumper, and they're located here and here, as well as for the spare tire rack, which can be done from both sides, from here and here. Alright, before I get into the transmission, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be removing the shock tower and the A-arms. First off, what I need to do is I need to take off the body posts so I can get down to get these 2 screws. And I'm going to have to take off the bumper mount so I can get these 2 screws to pull out the pins. And the bumper mount is held on with 3 screws. 1 here and 2 here. With everything gone, all you have to do is pull this all off and take care of the half shafts. Now, I did take off the motor and the slipper clutch assembly so I can go straight into this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the 5 screws that hold the transmission placed together. Now, I have to remember, there's supposed to be a shorter one that goes into this hole, and the rest of them are a little bit longer. Alright guys, I got the transmission back together. I did put more white lithium grease in here, so it's all greased up again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstall the motor, the spur gear, the pinion, bumper mount, shock towers, and everything. And as I put it back together, I'm replacing all the screws with stainless steel. So enough dilly-dallying, let's get back to it. Alright guys, it is finally put back together. God, this took me forever to put back. But now that it is finally done, we can start putting the slash back together. Includes front, middle, and rear. Alright guys, putting the front suspension back onto the main chassis is very simple procedure. All I have to do is feed the servo wire through this hole and then tighten down 5 screws here, here, and here. When that's done, all I have to do is plug this back into the receiver and I am good with the front. Alright, with the servo now plugged into channel 1, I can now put on the receiver box covers. And they are both held on with 2 screws. 1 here, here, and then 2 here for the smaller one. Alright, with that all installed, we are finally ready to install the rear of the RC. And it is held on with 8 screws. 2 on the shock tower, here and here, and then 6 on the chassis. These 4 and these 2. Alright guys, all that's left to do is screw the tires onto the shafts with a 4mm nut, and then we are done with this upgrade. Here is before. And here is after, guys. Look at this. Guys, it looks beautiful once again, thanks to Coyote. I mean, the stainless steel got rid of it got rid of those nasty ass screws, which I legitimately have a whole thing full of just all the rusted and old screws. I got pretty much every single screw in here from replaced. The only screws that I did not replace in here are inside the transmission, being the two screws that hold the motor in place, as well as the differential gears, not gears, the differential screws that hold the planetaries in place. Other than that, every screw on this RC has been replaced. And the shoulders, besides excluding the shoulder screws. The shoulder screws I left in because they weren't rusted. And, well, those are hard to come by. So, yeah, it is looking a lot better. I mean, there's still some rust from, like, the toe links and camber links, but other than that, guys, it is looking good. I gotta say, Kyle, thanks a lot, dude. And, best thing of all this, I still have a lot more I could use for other RCs, not to mention I have another case full of stainless steels I could add to this case, so I might be able to have enough to get more RCs. And that was Monsters Level 2 upgrade.